DeWanna Bonner is back in Phoenix. So looking at the standings right now, you have the Minnesota Lynx that have a very comfortable lead in the league. They're sitting at 22-5, the New York Liberty at 17-7. And then you get into this very close difference by centimeters, by a hair, kind of 3-6, 3-7 in the W. You have the Phoenix Mercury, the Atlanta Dream, the Seattle Storm, and then you can throw the Indiana Fever and Las Vegas Aces in there as well. What do you think DeWanna Bonner adds to this Mercury team to keep them kind of above water, above that kind of mucky middle of the league?
She adds depth, she adds floor spacing, she adds an ability to fill spots that the Mercury have been so good at doing. Because they have this big three of Kalia Copper, who was there last year, they bring in Alyssa Thomas, and then they bring in Satu Sabali. I don't have the actual number in front of me, but they have rarely played together due to injury. So DB can step into that role. I also think one of the interesting things is how we talk about her tenure there is not done, but how we talk about kind of like storybook endings or like, you know, it's so full circle or whatever, because we were just talking about this with her in Indiana. And now suddenly we're talking about this with her in Phoenix. Which is obviously where she had the most success in her career. She had that picture with Diana Taurasi, Penny Taylor, and Brittany Griner the other day. So she adds depth where they need it.
Yeah, and I also don't want there to be a certain narrative about her very quick little cup of coffee that she had in Indiana. Because she came out and said it. She was like, look, it's part of my journey. My journey is my journey, and I'm going to accept that. She kind of squashed any rumors about her not liking coming off the bench or not liking her role in Indiana. She said it just wasn't a fit. You know, it just wasn't. It was part of my journey, but like now I'm going back to where, you know, I'm comfortable, where obviously I've had a whole lot of success. So I don't want there to be this conspiracy theory that DeWanna Bonner absolutely despised her time in Indiana or holds any sort of, you know, grudges in Indiana. I mean, obviously she wanted out, and that was clear. She made that very, very clear and very obvious. But I think it's, from her perspective, more about, all right, how do I finish out this season versus holding any sort of ill will toward Indiana. Like, am I off base with that?
I think if you're a Fever fan, we'll see how you feel about that when Phoenix comes to town in a couple days. I think it's tough. Like, right now it's just kind of one person is saying something and another person is saying something. You can feel a lot of different ways about it. I mean, I don't know exactly what her tenure in Indiana was like or what it was perceived like from other places. I do know, if I'm thinking of it in terms of a fan, I'm probably pretty upset that you're my big ticket free agency get that suddenly decided a few games in it wasn't a fit, and you just left. I think as a fan, I would be mad at that no matter, you know, the legacy of the player or the reasons the player made it or what have you.
Oh, I totally think as a fan, you have every right to be frustrated. That as a fan, you were stepping back and you're looking at what Indiana did this past offseason and saying, like, you were supposed to be one of these pieces of a championship puzzle. So we just talked about how little championship experience the Fever had this past season. Well, DeWanna Bonner has a ton of championship experience, ton of experience, period, in the league. So if you're a fan, you're frustrated that she couldn't see through that vision that the front office had and what her role would be. So from a fan perspective, I totally understand. Look, fans can feel however they want to feel. But I mean, like, it's no secret that Phoenix has not had, you know, hasn't reached the mountaintop. It's been over a decade since their last championship.
Oh, wow. Since DB was there.
Since DB was there, exactly. Is it going to be a little, we brought up bookends. Do you see Phoenix now with the addition of DeWanna Bonner? How much does her addition change your perspective of Phoenix as a championship contender?
I really don't think it changes it all that much. I see them as a championship contender, but at the end of the day, I lean towards teams who have been there, done it before, or made deep runs. And Phoenix didn't last year. This is a pretty new team altogether collectively. And I just think historically, we don't usually see those teams break through for a title. I think teams with experience do that, and knowing how to come together in those really tight, stressful moments. We should also add on like this topic that we've had all day, when you can stay healthy and when you're playing these really, really tight back-to-backs that the playoffs are probably going to be, given the extension of the finals inside of this still 1 month bubble here.
And I don't think it's fair to say that DeWanna Bonner, especially where she is at this point in her career, she's the difference between a championship run and not. You know, does she have depth? Absolutely. Familiarity with the program? Absolutely. With the franchise. But, you know, at this point, I think I'm with you. That doesn't change things drastically, at least from my perspective of Phoenix and their postseason hopes, or at least championship hopes.